Hey, everybody. Your guy on the road, Tadpole L29 in the house. It is February 27th, 2026. And welcome once again to Tales from the Road. I'd like to say hello to Richard and Miles Tadpole. I'd also like to start saying a couple things to start the show off. Remember, guys, if you have a tale from the road, you can hit us up at talesfromtheroadmedia@gmail.com or your guy on the road at gmail.com or Tadpole. You got an email?
tadpoletrucker@gmail.com.
There you go. L29's working on his still working on his?
Still working on it.
Okay, guys. So now you know how to get a hold of us. Just remember, no tale is too great. No tale is too outlandish. We're not going to make fun, and we do believe the truth is out there. And just remember, when you guys tell us a tale, we're telling you the tale from the road because we're on the road driving, or we're on the road going somewhere, or we might be at the house, but we're coming from you from the road. So it's Tales from the Road. And I hope you guys enjoy the program because we have a pretty cool show, I think, tonight. Some pretty cool discussions. I'm going to kick it off by asking anybody, have they had anything go on lately or seen anything strange or unusual or had anything happen to them?
I had a crazy night the other night. It was a long day and a very, very long night. I was driving out there, Hardin County, Savannah, Tennessee on Highway 69. And I was actually on the phone with you guy on the road, and I was rolling along pretty good. I had about 20,000 in the box, and we was letting her eat. And then out of the middle of nowhere, a big buck, I would say he's about 300 pounds, big sucker, run right out in front of me. And when he run out in front of me, I smacked him so hard he flew about 30 feet. He tried getting up, and I hit him again.
One hell of a meat tenderizer.
Yeah, no crap. That was one way to tenderize some meat. Well, I was like, don't stop. I'm like, you don't understand. I ain't got no choice. I'm losing air pressure and coolant. So I finally get pulled over, and I get out and assess the damage, and it's bad. Bumper's gone, radiator's crushed, grill's gone, axle's shifted, and I call breakdown, all that. And that, they're telling me they're going to get everything taken care of out there. Well, as I'm sitting there, I feel like something's watching me. And the hair on the back of my neck's standing up, and I feel weird. I turn around and all that, walk around. I'm taking pictures of everything around me, to send to the company so they can identify where I'm at and get to me. Well, I noticed something in the picture, and it made my hair on my back of my neck stand up even more. In that picture, you could clearly see a face, a thing with glowing eyes. And once your guy enhanced it, you notice it even more, which you can see on Tales from the Road Media Facebook page. You can see it clearly. We posted a bunch of pictures. And not one, but two different things in them pictures. And every time I took a picture, they had moved around. And they stayed there.
And then, and then to interject, as he's on the phone telling me what's going on, I'm like, take pictures. He's like, oh my God, dude, I don't want to. Richard, he takes these pictures and we hear this ungodly screech. He said, did you hear that? And I said, yeah. And it was not, he was talking at the same time the screech happened. And it wasn't an hour. Anyways, on that Facebook page, you could see this koala looking thing, and it's got a face, nose, shoulders, eyes. And I enhanced it. You can clearly see it, clear as day. It's definitely some kind of cryptoid, I believe. Have you seen that picture? L29, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It definitely looks like what you're saying, a koala bear.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of weird, young, maybe juvenile cryptid. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know that he said they were moving around in that area. And the funniest thing, these people show up. And we were talking about feral people and shadow stuff and all. Well, you were talking about feral people. Well,
Yeah.
these people pull up and it's like, you need some food or water? He says, y'all got any crazy people that live out here?
They
Oh my God.
they stopped. I was walking back to where I hit the deer. I wasn't 100% sure if I actually killed him or not. I thought I did, but I wanted to be sure. And if I didn't, I was going to put him out of his misery. And they went up there for me and they see me walking and told me, he was gone.
He asked them
They
to, y'all got any
they
crazy people live up
they,
here?
they come back and asked me if I needed any food. I'm like, it would be nice. I'm gonna be out here a while. So they went home and made me, sandwiches and potato chips and brought me back some water and just a couple of things. And they was talking to me and being friendly. And I got looking over in the corner back there where I kept seeing them things. I was like, y'all have any crazy folks that live out here?
That
Because
was
things
so
just don't
funny.
seem right. And they were,
Well, I
they
think
were,
honestly, I made the point, and I know this sounds a little out there. I'm thinking that he really did see these creatures, and I've seen the photos, and I enhanced the one that was worth it. I think these things were maybe flushing out the animals to the highway to chase, and maybe he interjected with that hunt. What do you think about that?
It's definitely possible.
Mhm.
Right.
Needless to say, I was out there 4.5 hours waiting for them to bring me a loaner truck so I could finish my run. And then they bring me the loaner truck, and on top of that, the freaking loaner truck's only got 12 gallons of fuel. Mind you, I'm 45 miles away from any town. In the
That's when
middle
we
of
heard the
freaking,
screech.
I'm
That's
in,
So
just
let's
poor management.
Well, let's talk about this real quick. Let's go ahead and digress the situation as a tale from the road. I want to hear Richard's thoughts. Do cryptids flush their prey across highways? Are they trying to keep them? Was this a hunt? Was this active? Did Miles stumble upon something, or is this just a figment of our imagination?
Well, as you know, there's different cryptids all around the world, and they have different hunting methods. It very well could have been a hunting method for this one, where they may not have been developed enough to actually take the kill on themselves, so they flush them into the road, have vehicle kill the animal, and they go feed on it after.
I've never even thought about that. Wow. See, that's what I love the perspective because I've never even thought, well, let's just shoot. We know there's a car going to come this way eventually. Let's flush it in the road. Wow. See, and that could be a possibility of how these cryptids hunt when they're young. Use demands devices against itself. That's pretty cool. It's a good theory. I've never even heard that brought up in any of the circles that I travel in, man. That's pretty good theory, actually. I'm going to bring that up one day. Yeah, it's good stuff.
it's like, vultures too. You think about it. Them vultures they wait for us to hit some. They probably pray to God.
Well, I mean, think about it though. You got the dead carcass down in the middle of the road. Everybody leaves, tow truck leaves, and then now they can feed. So that's pretty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and. Oh, go ahead.
I think vultures are the same way. I think they pray, dear Lord, thank you for this meal and the trucker that prepared it for us.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm going to go ahead and talk about a theme tonight. I don't like to do themes, but I would like to digress a little bit about or go into these things that I would like to talk about tonight. We can talk about whatever, but I really want to talk about quote unquote shadow people. The history of the compiled stories of the creatures commonly known as shadow people, it spans centuries of folklore with a major shift towards modern and shared accounts being in the early 2000s. So it's like what heavily influenced by radio and internet forums, historically viewed as spirits or demons, or in some cultures, lost souls, outside shadow. The Choctaws believe in that. Now they are frequently described as dark humanoid silhouettes that vanish when they're directly observed. As I told you guys about the entity that happened in that house. Now, I'd like to say a couple things about this. Now, I'll open the floor up. In ancient folklore, many cultures have long stories of dark, human-like spirits that lurk in the peripheral vision, meaning they're not right in front of you, but you see them. You know, you can see them out the side of your eyes. Choctaw mythology is a specific tall, dark creature that haunts the woods, lurking in the shadows, and can slither like a snake. And I'm going to butcher this name, but it's called the Nausa Falaya. So maybe I said that way wrong. Inuits have
that out.
it's Nalusafalaya. So you have Inuit mythology, Islamic tradition, European superstitions, Victorian era, the Hat Man, commonly a reported specific type of shadow person wearing a hat or a coat. Now, we have seen stories of a hat coat shadow man chasing people, and it's all over Reddit. That's happened in the early 90s, late 90s, and early 2000s. Heidi Hollis is an author and researcher, and is a frequent guest on Coast to Coast. She coined the term, believe it or not, shadow people, to describe the dark human-shaped silhouettes that often appear in our peripheral vision. Now, I'd like to talk about, are these shadow people that are appearing, are they, have you guys understood, have you heard, have you seen? What is your thoughts on let's just talk about the peripheral vision shadow people only right now. Go ahead, L29.
Would this include like sleep paralyzation demons and such?
Well, I'm more like talking about, you know, you're in a house or you're on the road or you're doing something, and out of the corner of your eye, maybe at your washroom, there's a shadow entity, and you know it was a person, and you look and it's gone. Let's talk about that specifically right this second, and then we'll expand. I'd like to start off with that as a base for our discussion of the shadow people.
I haven't had too many experiences with that myself. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. There's plenty of proof out there that people have seen this stuff. There's things that lurk in the shadows, as we all know.
Right. Taphole, what's your thoughts on a peripheral shadow person? Now, they're talking about peripheral vision, bedroom visitors, appearance. Now, we're going to get that in a minute, Richard. The appearance. So, like, the peripheral vision, they are almost described as appearing at the edge of one's vision and vanishing when looked directly at them. And then I've got something really spooky to tell you, Richard, in just a second. And there's a feeling of dread, usually in appearances, or usually solid black miles. What is your opinion on these peripheral vision shadow people? Are they dimensional? Are they demons? Like, what is this? It's definitely a phenomenon that is happening.
First of all, I'd like to say, you know, I'm not like you. I'm not touched, but I do have this, I guess you could say, like a sixth sense when it comes to something that's not natural. I get this feeling, and I run into these types of things all the time where I'll see something out of the corner of my eye when I go into certain places, and I'll look and it's gone. I feel like, you know, I'm a firm believer, you know, I'm big on God. I'm a big avid Christian. I love God. But I also believe that between our world and, you know, the living and the dead, I believe there's what I call a veil. And I believe in certain places of the world that veil is a lot thinner than where it would be everywhere else. So it allows these entities to cross over, and we catch a glimpse of them. And sometimes it allows them to get a stronger hold on us, i.e. demons, yada, yada, yada. But I do believe that they're real, and some of them could be terrifying, as we will find out later on tonight.
Well, so Richard talks about, okay, an incident that he had with sleep paralysis. And here's something, you ready for this, L29? Okay. There are reports of these shadow people coming to your bedroom at night. Okay. So bedroom visitors, many reports focus on them appearing in bedrooms at night, often associated with sleep paralysis. Okay. Now, it's called the old HAG syndrome. Now, that right there is a demon. Okay. The night of the hag is given to this supernatural creature commonly associated with the phenomenon of sleep paralysis. It is a phenomenon which the sleeper feels the presence of a supernatural, malevolent being which immobilizes the person as if sitting on their chest or at the foot of the bed. Can you please illuminate us on that experience that you had? I want to know how this shadow person or this shadow entity affected you in that manner at that time.
So, this was when I was significantly younger. I was still growing up at my parents' house, and I was sleeping in the basement at the time, and all of a sudden I just get this huge sense of dread, and I can barely open my eyes. I can't breathe. I can't move, and I just barely see these hands just holding me down on my bed, and like at first, but before they were holding me down by the chest, they grabbed my ankles, and it was just like red hot coals, and it left a burn for several days, and it wouldn't go away, and I just kept thinking, I'm gonna die, and it wouldn't go away until I thought this exact thought, Jesus save me, and it fled, and I played Christian music on my little boombox the rest of the night.
Well, a lot of people consider it the work of demons, but this isn't something that happens to just us. It happens in Scandinavia legends, Newfoundland, Fiji. It comes from Albania, Turkey, Thailand, East Asia, Southeast Asia. There is so many reports of this sleep paralysis happening with these shadow entities appearing at the foot of these people's bed. Now, speaking of these shadow people, and this was the focus of tonight's podcast, I want to play a story from a truck driver who was actually followed by one of these entities. And I do believe his story was true. He was very reluctant to share it with me, but I did coax it out of him to ask him, please share it for the podcast. And I mean, his name's in the podcast, so I'll just go ahead and say his name's Paul. Pretty sure I said his name, but the guy's a truck driver, and he had an experience that I think is very telling about the industry in trucking, how demons or shadow people or entities, for some reason, I believe they're attracted to the energy of these highways and the energy of these roads. They know these truckers are kind of tired. They know we're sleepy. They know we've been working, and they have a doorway because your senses are dulled and your other senses are heightened, because as a truck driver, we have to use so many senses to do our job, and we have 6 sides of our vehicle to worry about. And so we're always on a heightened sense of alert most of the time. This story came from this guy, and I want you guys to listen to it, and then we're going to talk about it in a second. Okay? All right, Paul, go ahead and tell us your story, bro.
Alright, well, I was coming from Houston, headed to Amarillo. I stopped outside of Houston to take a nap. Ended up sleeping longer than I thought I would. Woke up around 2:15, 2:20 in the morning, and went to go get ready to drive, and my dog Loki always comes up to the passenger seat. And I looked back there trying to get him to come up, and he refused to. Well, I started trying to get him to come up, started offering him beef jerky, cheese, and his favorite thing is cheese, but he refused to come up. And I figured what was wrong with him, because it's not like him. And looked out the door, and there's a woman standing off, I don't know, about 20 feet away, just sitting there staring up at the truck. And Loki just would not come up. And I was going to get out, but something told me, just don't even get out of the truck. And she's just sitting there staring at me. I rolled the window down, asked her what she wants, and nothing. Just sitting there being weird and staring at me.
What was she wearing?
And she was wearing, I want to say, a hoodie, some blue jeans with cuts in the knees, and looked like maybe a pair of Vans, old skating shoes, blonde hair, kind of small, like 5 foot even almost.
Where were you parked? Were you in a parking lot, or where was your location?
I don't remember exactly where, but I know I was in a rest area. I was in a rest area. I was the only one there besides, I think, an RV, a car, and maybe a biker. Well, I know I rolled my window back up, and I ended up just leaving, but it felt like a mix of my spine freezing and just like something in the back of my head telling me to get the fuck out of there and run. Don't stop, but run.
Did you feel like a sense of dread or anything, or was it just more of a fear?
It was like almost if a human came in contact with, I don't know, say a dinosaur or maybe a grizzly bear just in the woods. Just a sense of pure
Terror,
fear and loathing.
So did you leave, or did you stay, or did
you
leave or stay?
I left and headed off to, off to Amarillo, and ended up stopping at the Big Texan.
Wow.
I stayed there for about a day. About a day, waiting on information about my next load, and woke up around about the same time after I'd gotten there. Slept for about 30 minutes, woke up about 2:15, around there, and again Loki started freaking the hell out. He started growling and whimpering, and he bit me. So I kept trying to drag him out of get him out of the bunk so he could get in the bathroom, but he ended up drawing blood. And it's the first time he had ever done that, like that. He had his hackles up, his eyes were enormous, and he refused to get up. And I started sensing something staring at me. I didn't understand how, because the curtains were drawn. Took a peek outside the truck, and he was there again, just sitting there staring at me.
The second location.
And yes, the second location.
So it followed you.
Big Texan. That's my guess. I don't understand how she would have gotten there in the first place. and I couldn't see her eyes at all, but I turned back to Loki to try and calm him down a little bit and see if maybe he could at least come up to the front, but he refused. He wasn't moving nothing. I went to turn back to see where she was, and she was right there on the side of the truck just staring at me, slowly knocking on the door.
Did you hear a knock, or was there no audible knock? Because we've heard stories before. Truckers have told me about things playing with their airlines. I had a story similar about the knocker where you could hear knocks all over the cab. Did she ever knock on that door?
Her fist was hitting the window, but nothing. There was nothing there, no sound, just empty out.
Wow.
Only one other time when I was on that route, going from Houston to Amarillo. I'd always stop at the Big Texan because they got decent steak. But no, any time I'd go on that route, it would be there. It was like it was only aiming for me. After that night, I had nightmares, and I still do to this day about it. I don't think it's a she. I think it's an it. But the second time, my memory's a little hazy, but if I remember correctly, I don't think she actually had eyes. Or if she did, they were just so far into her skull, you couldn't see the color.
That's terrifying. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, Paul. And I thank you for your time with that story, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Now, see, that right there is terrifying. I believe that is one of the most terrifying stories that I've ever heard on this road. And I've heard quite a few. It's one of them because, guys, this thing appears to him. It's wearing modern clothes. So for all intents and purposes. And then not only doesn't do anything, it doesn't have a face pretty much. He thinks it has a face, but like I said in the call, it was previously recorded. I had to get that on record earlier. There's no eyes, and then there are eyes, but I think that's his brain trying to make a face. And then this thing follows him to the next truck stop or whatever, and then it continues to follow him periodically. Now, thoughts on this, and let's elaborate. Let's get into, is this a shadow person, or is this a demon, or is this a separate spirit? And if it had clothes on, is it Hat Man? That's what I want to know.
Hat Man is a specific figure. It's not Hat Man. The way it was described, it almost seems like a more modern version of La Llorona, but as far as he told us, there's no real reason for that spirit to be after him.
Right. I agree, and I feel like each spirit, especially, presents itself to each person in a different way, because I know exactly where he was talking about, because that's Highway 147 going from Houston to Amarillo. I've been out there before at these little pull-offs, and I've had the exact same thing, but she was dressed differently. When I was out there, she had on an old-timey dress and had her hair up in braids and looked like she was crying.
Well, that one sounds like Llorona for damn sure.
You could just see a young girl with tears in her eyes. And man, I'll tell you, I didn't stop. As soon as I seen that, boogity down the road we go. Grab a gear and disappear.
Well, let's back up. Shadow people are typically described as dark human shape shifters or shaped silhouettes. They're jet black features, general shapes, and glowing eyes. We didn't see any of that, and fleeting elusive nature out of the corner of one eye. On and on. Now, face to face for longer periods. Sense of intense dread, chilling presence. Now, he had that. Hover in doorways. They dart across and loom over beds, and they melt in the walls or ceilings. Now, I just got really bad chills. I just remember the other night. Oh, my God. So, in my opinion, I don't believe this was a shadow person, but I do believe it was part of the shadow family. Is this a malevolent spirit? Is it a demon? Was it asking for help? Is it a repeater? Why was it following?
That's what I was actually about to say. Some spirits, they can't truly get peace until something's done. You know, like if they were murdered in cold blood, you know, they may be asking somebody else for help to solve the mystery or whatever.
Well,
you know,
maybe
some
this was a
demons
woman
or
of the night,
spirits just need that.
and it was a woman of the
Yeah.
night, maybe, and this was a truck driver. And so then that makes me think about the I-5 stuff and the serial killer truckers, and there's so much carnage on these highways. So, Richard, do you think this is like a repeater, or do you? Because we're gonna start coming up with our own classifications, I think, on this show. But is this what spirit would this be classified as? Is this just something that needed help, or do you think because of the dread feeling, was he just feeling the presence of what the spirit was feeling, or?
I think that, especially since Tadpole was saying that he had experienced the same or very similar a spirit in the same area, that it would be a malevolent spirit that just is attached to a certain area highway.
But see, I feel like there's more to it though, because I wasn't as terrified as him. I was scared. I wasn't as terrified as him, but like for it to make you feel that type of way, I feel like there's more to it, because most spirits, you know, your heart's going to thud a little bit, and you know, for him to not see a face and eyes sunken in, and him to be terrified, I feel like there's slightly, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a kindred spirit. It's a curious spirit, but it's also got like poltergeist tendencies to it. You know?
I do have to, I'll interject. A great black soul-eating shadow, the Shillip, according to the Choctaw legend, if a person harbors evil thoughts or deep sadness, this malevolent shadow can creep into their mind and devour their soul. The Choctaw traditionally believe that each person has an outside shadow, shambalish. I'm probably butchering this word. Forgive me, Choctaw people. But a shambalish that can wander separately from the body as well as the inner spirit inside the shadow. Now, maybe this was a projection, because I know Paul and I know he is going through some stuff sometimes. Was this maybe outer projection of, or is that just a doorway once I said, I mean,
honestly, that makes me think it was more so a demon, because demons look for stuff like that, look for people that are hurting and go after them, maybe attack them further and just feed off the negative energy.
You know, now that you say it, it does kind of make sense, because when I seen her, my grandmother had just died like 3 days prior, and I was trying to get home, and I was so upset. I was crying. I was trying to get home to her, and I seen her that night going up there to deliver that load so I can get back home.
Well,
I mean,
a concept uncannily close to what we now call shadow people. These cultural interpretations of shadow entities, omens, or spiritual forces that often prey on human fear. Okay, and evil or tricksters, but like the banging up the knocker. Okay, the knocker, the night the knocker hit my truck, or the night that you hear somebody messing with your airlines and you pop out back because you're like, I'm a Billy Badass guy, and you go out there and there's nobody there, and it's like, what? There's no animal or nothing. So I do believe that these shadow entities, the black dog. Okay, we know about the black dog.
Oh God. Yeah.
I have seen the black dog. Oh, you guys have seen it all. I've been on the road 23 years. I've seen a lot, okay? I'm telling you now, I believe the black dog is a demon. I believe it's not something that helps people. I believe it's a spirit shadow. I believe it's a shadow entity, because it always appears out of the corner of your eye, or it jumps into your truck. My experience with the black dog, I had a few. I don't know if I've told the listeners this. I drive 5,000 miles a week. I'm not talking about, I drive milk. I haul ag exempt milk, and I operate up to 5,800 miles a week in 7 days. I have seen this thing run down the mountain, and I have told you guys the story in season 1 of this black mule. It looked to me, it came out of the corner of my eye. It looked like a mule, okay? And then it was a deer, and then it was a black shadow, and it jumped across my windshield. But the point I'm trying to make is these shadow entities, they've got to be malevolent because they're tricksters, I believe. And I do believe that what he saw might not have been considered a shadow person per se. But I know I wouldn't have rolled my window down, okay? Because I know he said he did that. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're prepared to face what lurks in the dark. And at the time of these shadow entities and like the old house I described and your experience with getting pinned, this is what brought, you could talk to Tadpole about the cabin. That's in season 2. I interviewed him, or maybe it was season 1. The point is we are all 3 of us drawn together. And there's a few other friends we have that move in the same circles. I believe that we are all touched in a certain way if we're all being very truthful about these experiences, which makes us more adept to talk about these kind of things. Yeah, it's entertaining and it's spooky, but I wanted an outlet for us to be able to discuss these things, because if one person hears this show and it helps them think that they're not crazy, I think that's a win, in my opinion.
Agreed. When he said he rolled down his window a little bit, there's a show on Hulu called From, and that's all I could think about. These people were like skinwalkers almost, demons.
I love that show.
They're a mixture of both. You know, if you invite them in or you open the window, then they take their true form and, they get your ass. But that's what I'm thinking of when he's talking about he rolled down the window. What if she would have grabbed him? You think about this thing. What if she would have shrieked, smiled at him? He seen some pointy teeth, and that was it.
Now, Richard, I'm going to throw a curveball right at your face. You ready? What if these shadow people, and there are some theories, that these are interdimensional extraterrestrials rather than ghosts? Essentially, not evil aliens, but maybe evil aliens in shadow form, that people claim that they can be repelled by evoking the name of Jesus. But see, what if that's their whole plan? Well, we'll make them think that we believe in God because God created life, okay? I'm a spiritual person. You can't believe in the Satan and demons if you don't believe in God. And you can be spooky and all and believe it, but there is a creator. Which means he created life, which means he created the aliens. They might not believe in a God, or they know that God's real, but they're above intelligence. So they know that they don't want to get found out. And maybe the veil's lifted when we see these shadow people out of the corner of our eye. So they think that if we think we invoke Jesus and they disappear, we think it was a spirit, when in actuality, it was either an interdimensional being or it was, in fact, an actual extraterrestrial from our galaxy. Now, let me digress. An interdimensional shifter is someone from a different dimension that can shift, because I do not believe you can travel forward and back through time. I believe time is linear, and that's another podcast. But I do believe you can shift left to right through dimensions in the same time frame. So I do ask again, and this is right to you, L29, are these interdimensional beings or aliens from our own galaxy that are using some kind of cloak technology?
Well, when most people think aliens, they think the gray people, green guys, whatever. But I'm going to bring it right back to angels and demons. Those are interdimensional beings, because we don't walk on the same plane as heaven, hell, whatever. But these are all dimensions that exist. And they very well could be interacting while in this world. And I believe they do interact with this world on both sides. With this podcast, obviously, we're going to focus more on the darker elements of that, because that's what this podcast focuses on. But,
well, we can focus on the lighter side. There could be stories, but these discussions that we're having breaks the veil, because I hate this show. Okay, there's a reason. Everybody's gonna hate me for it. Supernatural. Okay, it's a fake show, but is it fake? We don't know. Okay, here's the thing. At the end, I'm not gonna. Hey, spoiler alert! Spoiler! Fast forward 3 minutes if you don't want to hear this. Okay. They start praying to the god Cass. They start saying they're going to fight God. That's when I lost interest in the show. Look, I'm not with it. But the point, I did see one episode because Hollywood, I believe that they know things, okay, and they move in circles. That's why it's so dangerous to let certain things in your TV. But they did this episode where Lucifer got sent to another version of Earth, and God started destroying all the other Earths. And that to me is like a really great show because it's a visual representation of what I actually believe, that there's millions of Earths that go left to right, forward to back, and that there are all kinds of different Satans. There's all kinds of different archangels. There's a version of you that's not a truck driver, but there's dimensions that are so close to us that if we went to them, Cheerios would be spelled with two O's and an S with an apostrophe, while our Cheerios is spelled with just an S. So it's very close. The closer you are to your first shift, the more similar it is until you branch out. So
talk about the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect, and that's another podcast because I do believe that we've collided and shifted. But the thing is are these beings able to shift? And if they are, can they not cause havoc in their own? Because if they are angels or demons, the demons that we know, because God has power on this demon, the God that separates, because God knows no time and no bounds, the God has not power, but the fact that this demon can get away with it at this dimension versus his, because he's tied and tethered to that dimension as he shifts. I know this is a mouthful, but as he shifts over to our dimension, does he get more leeway here because he's kind of like, quote unquote, under the radar? I know that's a lot to digress, but.
That's a lot, and I just hit another deer.
No, you didn't.
I just did.
Stop totaling trucks, Tadpole. What the hell?
Oh, no,
we're talking about demons and deers are coming out of it. This is what I'm saying, man. This is the wild shit that happens when we talk about this shit, man. Weird shit happens. It's like, but it's the truth, right? Is your truck okay?
Oh yeah, here's a small one. I just went
But
going.
back to my question: are these demons able to get away with this shit over here because they're shifting, or are we just off basis and this is just straight evil or straight non-malevolent? Obviously, these are malevolent tricksters.
Hey, as far as we know, our world, revolves around them. We're just some small speck in their, in their existence. I feel like maybe since we're here for such a short time and they're here for eternity, we're just passing through and they just have power over us. We're just not seeing everything because, we can't see everything with our naked eye.
I mean, there's also the theory that this world's hell, too.
The what theory, Richard?
I've actually.
What did he say?
The theory that the world we live in is actually hell.
I've heard somebody say I know Mental Mind said that he believes that
I could get biblical, but it's definitely not. We're definitely not hell. This is not hell. This is just a phase in the journey. Okay, it's temporary. It's just a stopping point. It's like a way station. But we can all agree that these are elusive, unsettling creatures. They're malicious and predatory.
Mm-hmm.
And they both inspire fascination and fear, right? Shadow people inspire both fascination and fear. I believe they're paranormal. I believe they're not friendly. I believe if you see a shadow person, you should definitely not give it power. And I do believe if you're at a truck stop and something forms itself in front of you guys, and this is not a giggling moment though, but it kind of is funny, but don't roll down your window. Don't talk to it. Don't engage it. Observe it. But like Richard says, you took a picture of it. What did you say? You took a picture of it. You just acknowledged it. I just don't know if we should ignore stuff and not pursue it. I'm not saying converse with demons and spirits, but I am saying, why should we not try to understand what it is we're looking at? And the really scary thing for me, for Richard, and I don't want to scare you because you're a brand new host, But the attacks and jumping and the choking victims have fueled the idea that shadow people can be demonic manifestations in this view, but the goal of these entities might terrorize or feed off human fear, that some demonologists believe that once they have touched you in this manner, that they are attached to you for life. And that at any time they can be present back in your world. So we have to protect ourselves spiritually. You know, if you're saved, you cannot be possessed by a demon. That's a fact. But you can be afflicted. And I'm not saying tonight somebody's going to get you, Richard. I'm saying that is something for you to be aware of, that you have been afflicted and you have been marked. And that is a fact. And that is not a lie. What's your thoughts on that?
I could definitely see that, and don't really want to get into what's going on in my life right now, but I could definitely see being afflicted right now for damn sure.
It's amazing. We only use 10% of our brains, and God, gives us knowledge. But I'm glad that we don't have the knowledge to really see what's going on, because if He revealed all that was going on to us and we've seen everything around us, I believe we'd be so utterly terrified we wouldn't be able to function.
I mean, when I was younger, I actually was able to see beyond the veil sometimes, so it's not fun. It's not fun.
I don't know when whatever happened to me. I don't know how it happened. My mama has always been like this. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe there's a certain age. Maybe I just didn't acknowledge it. I told you my dad used to feel like people were watching him in the school when he would check it at night as a police officer. But there are a lot of us out here that are touched where we ignore it or whatever. I believe you should not ignore it and you should pierce the veil, but I think you should be careful. And that's not just with ghosts. That's with cryptoids. That's with anything. Wendigo, aliens, Bigfoots, cryptoids, obviously. Any kind of ominous threat that you think is ominous, these things exist. They have to exist. Because if they didn't exist before
there would
any
be
of
so
this
much evidence.
Well, and let me tell you something. Before any of this technology ever existed in the whole world, and I know I'm a big believer in Bigfoot, guys. Y'all know me as my main vein. But there have been reports all over the planet before ever existed cell phones and internet of ape-like men and hairy people, from the Orang Pindak to the Yeti to the Sasquatch to the Red Man to the Quiet One to the Swamp Ape to the Shinzo, all through history. World War II vets used to talk about gremlins on their planes. I mean, there is something going on in the earth, and we will not always understand it. But mark my words, we will talk about it. And if you guys think that this is what you want to know, then this is the podcast for you. And with that, guys, do you have any final thoughts or sayings? I'm going to go with you, L29.
I don't have any more final thoughts. Just let's keep it rolling.
What about you there, Tadpole?
Keep your senses up and never let your guard down, but don't try to dig too deep or you might go mad.
Guys, this has been Tales from the Road, brought to you by Tales from the Road Media. Hit us up on talesfromtheroadmedia@gmail.com, your guy on the road @gmail.com, and tadpoletrucker@gmail.com. If you have, this is so many ways to get a hold of us, okay? And you could also hit us up and put all the pictures and stories. You could go crazy on Tales from the Road Media Facebook group page. I chose Facebook because it's such an easy outlet for people to get to. We really appreciate your time. I thank you for listening. I appreciate the support. The truth is out there, guys. Be mindful, be vigilant. Until next time, this has been your guy on the road saying survive and stay alive. Peace.